Welcome back to Work-Life Harmony. Today's guest is one of my dear friends, and I continue to learn from her year after year after year. My name is Megan Sumrell. I am a time management expert for women, and I'm on a mission to bring work-life harmony into homes all over the world. And one of the ways that we can do this is actually having a beautiful but incredibly functional space to do whatever type of work we do from our home. And when it comes to actually decorating and designing inside the home, anytime I'm having that conversation, I want to bring in Tasha Agruso because she is the expert in this area. Believe me, I am not. But what I have learned from her over the years has completely transformed not only the look of our home, but most importantly, the way it feels, specifically the area in which I work. So I wanted to go ahead and bring Tasha back on here today to share with us some really simple, but very much life-changing strategies on how to set up a beautiful but functional workspace to help you be more productive. And this includes whether you have a dedicated workspace or maybe you're someone that needs to, work in the kitchen or in a corner in your bedroom as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. Hey everyone, welcome back to Work-Life Harmony. I have back a veteran guest, my dear friend, Tasha Agruso, who finally, after all these years, we just recently got to meet in real life for the first time, which was astounding for the fact that we're like, it's been what,
Yeah.
3-4 years, and we couldn't believe we'd never met in person. But Tasha is, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but we're going to kind of preempt here what we're going to be talking about today. Tasha is my go-to when it comes to beautifying my home. And I'm here to tell you, I have zero, if there were a way to say negative skills when it comes to decorating my home, that is me. But I have learned so much from you. And the founder of the Beautiful Home, Beautiful Life Summit, which I learned from every year that we're going to be talking about today as well. And today we're really going to be diving into creating a functional, but still beautiful place in your home for work. And we're going to define work before we dive into this. So Tasha, would you tell everyone about yourself, a little backstory here, and then we will get going.
Yes. And thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. And it was so great to meet you in person. I feel like we've known each other forever. So if anyone is new to me, I am the founder of Kaleidoscope Living, and it is just a destination for lovers of colorful home, interiors, interior design, DIY enthusiasts. It's my mission to help everyone create a home they love, no matter their budget, because I believe that it's such an important thing to do. I care very deeply about it. I think I have shared this with you before, but I grew up in a house that was it was what I would call a chaotic environment because my mom suffered from a couple of different mental illnesses. And though she did her best, her moods were kind of up and down and all over the place. And our house reflected that, as you might expect. There was just a lot of disorder in the home. And I discovered at a very early age, which I'm so grateful for, that in the face of that chaos and that unpredictability, I could turn my room, my bedroom, into kind of a place to retreat, reset, really calibrate my mood independently from what was happening in the house, so that I really had a lot more control over my ability to feel calm and happy. And, I say I'm lucky because I think that I am lucky to have learned the impact of my physical environment on my personal well-being at a young age. Most people do not learn it that young, if ever.
I love that you bring that up because really up until I met you, I always wanted to have, a home that looked nice.
Yeah.
But my goal was to have a home that looked nice,
Yeah.
meaning maybe copied something in a magazine or again, because this is not my zone of genius,
Mhm.
but I never approached it as where inside my home, I want to create a space where I feel in each room in our
Yes.
house the best I can be, that it really becomes a haven and not just a beautiful thing to share with people. And really
Exactly.
making that mind shift through you, we have made so many subtle changes
Mhm.
throughout our home for us,
Yep.
purely for us
Yep.
as a family, not to have my house look a certain way
Right.
to other people. And I'm telling you, the whole atmosphere in our house is just
Mhm.
different. So
Different.
thank you for
Oh.
giving us that gift, because I know you help so many others do it as well.
Oh, well, that's what it's all about. I mean, you're nailing it. It's the way it looks is part of it because feeling good in your space is
Mhm.
impacted by how you feel when you look around at the things in
Right.
it. But at the end of the day, design and decorating should come down to feeling good. It should be about primarily how it makes you feel, and a component of that is how it looks.
Yeah. Oh, and see, and that's why I unashamedly all the seasons pull out all my gnomes. Like they make me
Yeah.
feel good, right?
Listen, yes, it's all that's what it is about. That's why it matters.
Yeah, yeah. So let's dive into this conversation of how do we create a beautiful but
Mhm.
functional workspace in our home. And before we dive into this, I want to make sure anyone listening understands this isn't just a conversation for someone who, has a corporate job where they have a home
Oh,
office or
yeah,
is an entrepreneur working from home.
right.
Every woman out there, let's be honest, does some form of work from our home,
Mhm.
whether it's for someone else, for ourselves, or in service to our family, right? When you're
Absolutely.
sitting down to fill out the forms and pay the bills and figure out the meal plan and the calendar, whatever the things are,
Yep.
we are all doing a form of work in our home.
Yeah.
And I think the go-to for so many women, if they don't have a set office, which took me
Mhm.
years to have, is like I used to quote work from the dining room table,
Oh,
or a lot of
absolutely.
women it's work from the kitchen table. So first let's talk about if we don't have a full room in our house
Yeah.
to set up as a functional, beautiful workspace, because I think that's the easier one to tackle almost. What
Yep.
can we do in our homes to create a space where we need to get work done that
Mhm.
doesn't just feel like we're squeezing it in around everybody else?
Well, I would say the first step is, and this is true for any room, but it's, I think, particularly crucial for a workspace, a place where you want to be productive.
That's a
Let's call
great way
it
to call
that.
it. Yeah.
Is to think about how you need to feel for that to be
Mhm.
true. Okay. So, for example, um, I want to feel calm and serene when I'm in my bedroom because it takes me some time to wind down at the end of the day. So that goal is going to inform certain color choices that will help me achieve feeling calm and serene. That is not how I want to feel in my workspace. Okay. Because
Yeah.
for me to be productive, I need to feel energized and motivated. So I would say the first step is think. I think that's probably true for most people, but maybe not. Maybe there are people who are most productive when they feel incredibly calm and centered and relaxed. Not me. So you need to think for yourself, how am I feeling when I'm at my most productive? Are you feeling excited and energized and like you could keep going for 8 hours? That's how I want to feel in my workspace. But that answer might be different for you. And you have to think about that first
I just
because,
had the biggest light
yeah.
bulb moment go off
Oh,
because when the weather is nice, my husband's always shocked. He's like, I thought I'd come down and find you
Mhm,
working out on this, you're working on the screened-in porch,
mhm.
which is, I mean, 10 paces
Yeah.
from my office. And every time I've tried it, it's failed. But I'm just now realizing that space is
Uh
my
huh.
haven, is my wind down.
Yep.
And anytime I try and work out there, nothing gets done. And I could never
Yeah.
figure out why. And now I'm like, oh, there it is.
I mean, people really underestimate it, but that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Your physical surroundings affect how you feel in the space. And, big companies use it to influence us. It's no
Mhm.
mistake that fast food restaurants use red and yellow for their restaurants. And we can use that same impact in our own homes. But you have to be smart about it, right? You don't
Right.
just want to, that's why you just have to think through the process. How do I want to feel? So I would say that's step one. So let's say that the majority of people, because I think this is likely the case, let's say the majority of people want to feel energized and motivated in their whatever this workspace is.
Mhm.
So then I would say if you don't have a dedicated workspace, you need to think, which space do I already have in my home where this is how I feel when I'm in it? Okay. For you, Megan, that is not your screened-in porch.
No, it is not. And I don't want to turn it into that
Right.
either.
But maybe that's how you always feel when you're in your kitchen
Mhm.
and you already have a kitchen table there. Or, I mean, a lot of kitchens still have built-in little
Little
desks.
desks, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, then that might be the perfect place for you to sit. But if I know, believe me, I know there are restrictions of physical space. And so if somebody is listening, thinks, well, the only realistic place I have to set up my workspace is in my bedroom, and my bedroom is very calming and serene. That's not ideal, but there are still things you can
I've
do.
seen people put like screens around the work area versus sleep area or something to try and
Yep.
differentiate
You
that.
could
Yeah.
hang, ceiling tracks to hang floor to ceiling curtains so that you can pull it closed when you're not using it. But also, even let's say you set up a small desk in a not ideal space, like the whole vibe of the room isn't ideal. You can still you can create
Mm.
a workspace, even just with small items that can still heavily influence how you feel when that is in your immediate surroundings. I mean, simple thing. It could be colorful post-it notes. It could be that you use your planner that sits on your desk is colorful, or it's colors. I use the term colorful. It's so subjective. To me that means vibrant colors. To you it means something else. Whatever colors you
Right.
like, and then invoke the feeling you want. Even if it's just, this is where you sit to, as you said, kind of do your meal planning and filing. My husband still loves like
I still
physical.
file some paper.
Okay, he has a space in our downstairs house, and he still files even little things like the file folders. They
Yes.
don't have to be basic manila
Thank
folders.
you.
Just
Yes.
whatever, like little things, Marie Kondo. I'm not a decluttering expert, but I love her phrase of sparking joy. That's what it's
Mhm.
all about. I would just tweak it to say sparks energy, or whatever that goal.
Motivation or
Yes, whatever that
yeah.
target feeling you're trying to achieve is, you can find things that evoke that feeling. And it doesn't have to be an entire room or, space that otherwise makes you feel that way. You can make do with your little nook. Just
Mhm.
make intentional decisions. Don't think, well, this is what it is. I'm just going to feel tired and sleepy every time I sit here. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that way. There's
No.
still plenty of things you can do to influence it.
That's where I loved before I had this my full office now. I've the journey of my workspace in my house has it's been a big one for like, I don't know, 18 years or so.
Mm,
For a while I was still in this room, but I only had one little corner. So I had like a corner desk and the rest of the
mhm.
room was living room, piano, all of that. So it's
Oh,
like,
wow.
well,
Yeah.
I was like, what is this room? We don't know. It depends on where you're sitting. But when I was in my little corner, my
Hmm.
back was to the rest of the room. So I
Yeah.
had a window and I just had this corner desk and that was it.
Hmm.
But I would wheel out one of those little
Yes. A
three-tiered
cart.
drawers
Yep.
with my supplies, even down to I got to where I was putting up a specific picture on that little
Hmm.
desk. And like in
Yeah.
that little tiny 3 square foot space,
Yeah.
I cranked stuff out.
Yeah.
And now I'm realize I didn't know why it worked the way it
Yeah.
worked, but now because of what you
That's
said,
why.
I'm
Yeah.
realizing that's why. Because the rest of the room did not motivate me to do anything, but I didn't see it when I was in
Yeah.
my little
You were in
nook
your
of
zone.
here's
Yeah.
where I sat.
Yeah, I mean, a way to think about it is cubicles, right?
Mhm.
Just picture a traditional cubicle.
Oh, logged some time in
I
those.
mean, who hasn't, right? I mean, if you,
Yeah.
I can picture them so
Oh,
clearly.
yeah.
And it's really funny because back in the day, as you know, I was an attorney and I worked in a traditional office environment. And I did have a dedicated office, but the support staff were in cubicles. And it was always fascinating to me because you have the people who take the time to personalize their space and make it feel good to them. And you
Mhm.
have the people that don't. I don't know if they don't think it's worth the time. I'm not really sure. But I can tell you, and I really had never thought about this until we started having this conversation. The best support staff, the support staff that everyone wanted or was jealous of, envied, oh, your legal assistant is the best. They were the ones who had
Personalized.
personalized workspaces.
Interesting.
They were productive. They were more happy to be doing what they were doing because they felt at, I mean, they felt at home when they were at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's really no other way to put it. And that's the thing. I think so many people put workspaces on the back burner, right? Because there's so many other spaces in our home
Because
that we
it's
care
just a
about.
job, right? Or it's just
Which
whatever. Like, well, this isn't
just
where I want to
work.
spend my time, but we're spending
Yeah.
a lot of time. For some
Uh-huh.
of us, we're spending a large portion of our life in
Yep.
those environments. Now, let's say you do have a dedicated
Yep.
workspace. Thankfully, I had some professionals help
Yeah.
get mine started, but I had to go in and make it mine
Yeah.
slowly, and it's still evolving.
Yeah.
For folks that have a dedicated space, what are some of the top tips that you find there to help it be very functional, but still very personal?
I would say one of the easiest things that most people don't think about is lighting.
Mm,
So I
mhm.
would really encourage people to, I do have can lights in my office and I do keep them on, but if you can have a lamp or some secondary lighting somewhere else that makes it feel a bit softer, like home, and a little bit less corporate, even in your own house, that alone will make a huge difference. It's gonna,
And
the
like my husband
lighting.
and I don't agree on lighting. And so I love that we don't, because we used to
Oh.
share a workspace. And so it was this constant battle of what the lighting aesthetic should be in there. So now we each get to have them the way we like them.
Yeah, it really matters. So think about your lighting, and if it doesn't feel great, tweak it. Like I like a very bright
Same.
workspace. I mean, my husband makes fun of me and says you could operate in your office. I'm
My
like,
husband tells
I
me to
like
turn down the sun. That's what he calls it. He's
it.
like, oh God, could you turn down the sun?
Yeah, so it's not right for everybody, but you and I clearly know. And I remember saying to him, we were changing the bulbs and the can lights in my office, and I was like, I want them brighter. I want the brightest bright option. And he was like, it feels like a hospital. And I said, it makes me feel awake. Okay.
Yes.
And I need to feel awake when I'm working, but I can still balance that with the lamp I have in the corner. It just makes it feel a little more comforting.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate the lighting. And then I really feel like from a design perspective, you should spend just as much, if not more, energy on thoughtfully designing and creating a workspace that you love as you would any other room in your house. Um, people are willing to put in the time and effort in something like a family room, maybe even a bedroom. Common spaces tend to get the most attention,
Yeah.
which makes sense. It's where we all spend our time and you want to hang out there and feel good. But I can tell you that my days, I spend more hours in my office by myself than I spent, at least a weekdays, than I spend in the family spaces in my home. So don't shortcut the process or underestimate the importance because your entire family may not enjoy the space.
Oh
It's,
my gosh. Yes. So,
do
and
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And when I finally got into this space, I was trying to keep it to where everyone else liked it as well. And finally, when I realized, I'm like, this is my office.
Yeah.
I get to build a space for me. And my family will tease me about some stuff that I have in here. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, don't
It's
care. This is
about you.
my space. Yeah, you should be a little bit selfish with it.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and if you're just creating a zone in a room, you should be selfish with that zone. It is
Yes.
okay. Be selfish. The other thing I would say is so you don't just want to throw it together, I guess is my point. Like take some time, think through it, think about the things that you love, shop your house. to bring, if there are things you love in other places of your house that your family doesn't really appreciate or puts up with, put it in your office, put it in your work zone. Um, so along those same lines, just because it's a workspace does not mean every item in it needs to be strictly utilitarian. This is
Yes.
another, I would say, mistake that I see. Function and usefulness in an office is very important. It's important in any space, but it doesn't mean that just because it's an office or work zone that you shouldn't have some things there that are just pretty because you like
That
them.
just spark joy,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Perfect example, art on the walls.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can find functional art that serves more than one purpose, fantastic. But not in my current workspace. I had to switch rooms in the house, but in my last workspace, I had a giant, and I mean giant gallery wall of just art that I loved above
I
the
remember that.
yeah, above the
Yeah.
tables that we used for like packing and shipping. Um, there was no function or purpose to them, but I didn't need that space, that wall space for anything else. So I filled it. I mean, chock full of some of my favorite colorful art pieces that frankly my family doesn't love. They were top, it was like a top 20 Tasha's hits of artwork that I loved. And that's what it should be, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was great. I loved it. In the space I'm in now, I don't really have that luxury of having a chunk of wall space that doesn't need to serve some function. So I don't have that gallery wall anymore. And that's okay. But I have, I have a wall calendar that serves as functional art for me. And it takes up pretty much a whole wall. So to me, it still visually looks pretty. It sparks joy every time I see it. And it serves a dual purpose in that it's super functional. So, but don't feel like the only thing you can put on the wall in an office is a calendar or a tool that is
Or
going to help.
inspirational, motivational
Yeah,
productivity quotes or
yeah, it doesn't need to be a poster of a golf course and a putting hole with a
leadership. Yes. Oh, and it's funny. One of the things I've leaned into the last couple of years, thanks to you, I get antsy for
Mhm.
change. I like change.
Oh,
And that's always been hard for me at home because I'm like, I'm gonna buy the sofa. I'm gonna have this thing forever.
oh yeah.
In my office, if you're watching the video,
Yeah.
you'll see I have this tiny little loop
Yep.
circular thing on my wall. It's maybe, I don't know, 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet circle with little shelves.
Yep.
And I change out what's on those shelves for holidays and seasons. So like right now, it's springtime. I had a bunch of Eastery stuff on it.
Yeah.
And it's just got what, 1, 2, 3, 5 small little shelves. And right now it's just all fun bee objects. And then I
Yeah.
will change that out come July with all my flag stuff. But
Yeah.
I felt like I just never thought to be able to do those things, make small
Yeah.
changes, again, with the sole purpose of sparking joy for myself in an
Yeah.
environment where I spend a good chunk of time.
Even like just jumping back to what I'm just looking around my desk. Like even my highlighters and pens they're colors that I like. I mean, this is the littlest thing, but you're gonna have to buy pens anyway. So
Right.
I like the way these look sitting on my desk. So even if I only had a corner in a space, looking at this would help me feel energized and the way I want to feel. So it doesn't always have to be some big huge thing. It doesn't have to be paint on the wall. Um
Hmm.
Anything that makes you feel how you need to feel to be at your most productive and that will help, frankly, whatever you need to do. Even if you love what you're doing, there's always things that feel like a slog, which is,
Sure.
I don't like reconciling my bank accounts, Megan. I hate it. But you know what? If I feel good in my space, I'm gonna just power through and get to the next
And
thing.
maybe you're using the pens that you like or like filing paper. I hate it, but all my files are now pink and gray and they look pretty. And so,
Yep, I will show you a great example. I had to I don't like tech stuff. you're probably way more patient with it than I am. But with the summit coming up, I really had to figure out there's like a tech stack, if you will. And I realized, Tasha, that you're like spinning in circles. You have got to, I know, like I did not want to pause and kind of chart it out, but I knew I needed to. And I made it kind of pretty
Made it
with
pretty. Yeah.
it's little things like that. If I'm gonna have to pause and do this, I'm gonna make it look cute. And that little just minor thing made it more bearable for me to get through.
The fact that you just showed that and shared your story from childhood. The other thing that I've learned from you is the importance of allowing my daughter to have
Oh.
that as well.
Mhm.
Because I'm even thinking back to last Christmas, everything on her wish list for the most part were matching things for her desk in her room. The
Oh,
matching
yeah.
pens that matched the paper clips, like to her
Mm.
having a vibe, like I was not like that at her age. I didn't see that, but she knows just intrinsically knows that.
Yeah.
And if I had not learned what I learned from you, I would have been like, this is ridiculous. Like, let's just go get the school supply. Like,
Hmm.
but it really makes a difference for
Yeah.
her. And so I've had to learn to step back and within
Hmm.
budget,
Yeah,
obviously.
sure.
Yes, this is your space. And we
Yeah.
have some rules in terms of tidiness, but you get to build it in a way that, and I don't think I would have been as just totally comfortable and open to that if I hadn't learned what I've learned about the underlying how this affects us
Mm.
mentally so much. And
Yeah.
so I can't thank you enough. Now you
Oh,
mentioned the summit.
yeah.
Tell everyone what the deal is with Beautiful Home, Beautiful Life Summit. What year is this for you?
This is the fifth
The fifth. Well,
year.
this is my fourth year
Yeah.
participating,
You're
so I'm
one of
super
the
pumped about it.
favorites. So we've asked you back every year with great pleasure, and I'm
Woo!
so grateful that you have said yes. So yeah, this is the fifth annual Beautiful Home, Beautiful Life Summit. This year it is May 7th through the 9th. And basically it's a gathering of experts like yourself who are committed and passionate about teaching women, busy women, how to declutter, organize, and decorate their homes. Um, all with this underlying purpose, let's
Yeah.
have everybody have a home they love so that they can really live their best lives.
What I
So,
love about your summit is
yeah.
you cover all those categories. This isn't just a come decorate your home.
Oh,
I
yeah.
learn new things every year from different speakers.
Yeah.
I've learned new software to try out that I've been able to test and play with to decide, do I want to go digital or not? I've learned new decluttering strategies. I've learned the whole reverse organizing strategy. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
things I learn every single year from this. And the cool thing is, guys, we've got the link here below in the show notes for you to go ahead and sign up. It is free for
Yep.
you to join. I buy the all access pass every year because
Right.
I know I can't get through all the training in time.
Yeah.
So I would recommend just do that out of the gate. So then you can map out your journey and take the time that you want through this.
Yeah.
How many people have you served through this summit now? Best
We've
guess.
had at least 40,000 women each year. So at this point, we could hit what, the 200,000? I'm terrible at math, but
Yeah.
that's,
So, I mean, and you could even, because it grows every year, you could be in a
yeah,
position to almost be at that 250,000 mark through this
we
summit. It's
could.
it's that good. And I
It,
wanted to bring that up because I think there's a lot of summits out there nowadays. People are throwing them together, but this is one that is proven year over year to over deliver on what you promise.
Well, I appreciate that. And we're only able to do that because experts like you volunteer their time. And the speakers do not get paid. But the one thing I will say for anyone listening who thinks, oh, I've participated in a summit before and I found it overwhelming. The other thing I have very intentionally done every year is we have never had more than 25 speakers because I do think there is a tipping point at which, yeah, the information is just as valuable, but
But
it's
it's
too
too
hard to
much.
comb
Yeah.
through. This year, with the feedback I've gotten every year, I'm actually intentionally made it smaller. We have only 17 speakers this year. And I'm excited that this year we used to kind of organize it by day one, decluttering, day two, organizing,
Yeah.
day three, decorating. This year, thanks to the feedback of people who have participated in the past, they kind of wanted it all mixed up. So now this year, you're going to get a little dose of decluttering, organizing, and decorating every single day, which I think I'm very excited about that change.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Megan said, basic admission is free to everyone. And that is how the vast majority of people participate. That with basic admission, you can watch each expert session for the free viewing period, which is 24 hours. Each day, you get 24 hours to watch the sessions for that day. And you can do that without paying a dime. The spirit of the event is we want to help you create a home you love. And if the only way you can do that is with free admission, you are still
Do it.
welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm excited for it this year because I don't know what it is I'm going to learn, but I know I'm going to learn
Yeah,
something
something.
because I always do every single year. And again, thank you for giving us your time here today. And I would encourage everyone listening, take that first step to identify where is your dedicated workscape space going to
Yep.
be, and that initial connection of is how this space decorated today supporting me
Right.
to get stuff done, because maybe it's time to
Exactly.
find a new space or bring some things into it that support you on that. So
Exactly.
important.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Tasha, and we look forward to seeing you at the summit.
Thanks, Megan.